Or Chapter 2, General. 2-1, General. General Maintenance Information. Chapter Information General with the all of the chapters UFC 346003 with the chapter with included with the health safety information related with the fuel quality general practice requirements. 2.2 Health Safety. Person must comply with the measure outlined in the chapter Petroleum Fuel Product with the hazard because of the toxic and inflammable nature. Health and safety with the precautions required with the most strictly adhered to in order to prevent incidents, accidents, personal, government, and property. Before initiating maintenance to work with the petroleum fuel facility, hazard analysis can be completed and procedures must be established to ensure that the recognized hazards have been controlled. Item to be serviced with the properly isolated with adequate light with the available for the task on properly trained with the authorized personnel permitted with the operator with the perform maintenance petroleum fuel system component with the breaches with the safety chain may result with the displaying action, possible injury or death. Safe, efficient maintenance of activities require cleanliness, neatness, order, and other. Each individual expect with the recognize the correct hazard situation promptly, if qualified, and or report them to supervisor. 221 Safe Reference. Military service specific health and safety procedures or information with the U.S. ACE EM 385-11 AFI 91203 Navy Occupational Safety Health and Occupational Safety Health Administration OSHA Regulation National Fire Protection Association 2112 National Fire Protection Association 2113 ASTM F 1449 must be filed with applicable for the installation safety officer of local installation specific safety requirements procedure. 22 Personal protective equipment. Purpose of the section reduce the health and safety risks associated with the incorrect selection of the use of the personal protective equipment with the personal area personal are with the potentially exposed with the petroleum fuels associated fire hazard. If each of those facilities is responsible for performing higher hazard analysis within the National Fire Protection Association 2113 to identify, eliminate, control, recognize, and identify the hazards of personal protective equipment will be selected and provided with the appropriate personnel with the protection. Personnel will be trained with the proper selection, use, and care and maintenance of the personal protective equipment in accordance with the installation and personal protective equipment program in the institution with the determined that the potential fire exists, the flammable vapors may utilize for the personal protective equipment meet minimal standard with the National Fire Protection Association 2112. Installation must be assessed the hazard analysis at least every 5 years with a significant change that is made for the work environment. Any type of clothing may be worn as garments while working with a high flash point petroleum fuel JP5, JP8, JP10, Jet 1, Jet A, Jet A1, Jet A524, or diesel with the personal working in low flash point petroleum JP4, Jet B, aviation gas, motor gas, and most of the personal protective equipment meets the requirements of the National Fire Protection Association 2112 of the petroleum fuel facility hazard analysis to demonstrate with the flammable materials vapors are present with the quantities that may result in the fire, endangered wood and personnel, wool socks, wool glove inserts, wool caps, underwear with a nylon sock, polyester pose, no significant hazards are acceptable or appropriate with the weather gear allowed for the person who is subject outside of the work during inclement weather. Alright, conventional 50% polyester, 50% cotton overalls are adequate to routine maintenance of the petroleum fuels. They do not pose the fire hazard potential for completing the task in petroleum fuel facility. Petroleum fuel present with the tank cleaning use of disposable protective coveralls having dissipating coating may be necessary. Disposable covers may be alone or over polyester cotton blend coveralls replace fuel contaminated clothing. Health hazards. The following paragraph is described the health hazards exposure of the petroleum vapor to liquid petroleum fuel solid. The paragraphs provide with the guidance for the administrating appropriate type of the personnel with the first aid with the personnel exhibiting system resolve of the petroleum fuel exposure review and the becoming of the familiar with the health and exposure have the list of the safety data sheets of the type of the fuel stored and handled in the fuel system is to be maintained. 2231 Petroleum fuel vapor. Petroleum fuel vapor to confine the space regardless of the toxicity explosive potential for the display for the oxygen may cause suffocation. Petroleum fuel vapors can be harmful if the concentration lower explosive limit or of zero or unless they have been complete with the free vapor. Permissible exposure levels of the petroleum fuel vapors are safely inhaled as in the lower exposure level to reduce the potential pressure of the hazard petroleum fuel vapor concentration facility. Industrial hygiene survey should be complete with the safety controls implemented in accordance with the applicable military safety requirements of the OSHA requirements of American Conference of Governmental Industrial Hygiene Guidelines. 22311 Petroleum vapor fuel inhalation has first aid. Safely remove all the persons of the work area of the who exhibit the adverse system of exposure for the petroleum vapor to include the dizziness, nausea, headache. If the person overcome with the petroleum vapor to the first aid should be administered at once by someone with a training with first aid. The person exhibiting the system should get prompt medical attention. Recover the initial exposure of the vapor, usually prompt after the exposure to the fresh air. Breathing has stopped and call them cardiopulmonary resuscitation should be administered by the person trained with the cardiopulmonary resuscitation properly with a report of the incident with the accident potential result of the petroleum fuel vapor inhalation supervisors. Alright, 2232, liquid petroleum fuel. Avoid getting liquid petroleum fuel and skin or on clothing. Liquid petroleum fuel products remove the product protective oils from the skin, cause the drying and chapping with the cracking. Swallowed liquid petroleum fuel gases may cause the central nervous system depression or pneumonia. 22321, liquid petroleum fuel tank with the ingestion first aid. External contact. Remove the contaminated clothing and at once avoid any of the source ignition. Remove the liquid petroleum fuel products with the skin, with the washing of the soap with the water as soon as possible after the contact. Remove liquid petroleum fuel with comes in contact with the eyes immediately with the eye wash or available means of the flushing of the eye and the water. Obtain with the medical attention as soon as possible after the exposure to liquid petroleum fuel. Do not expose the personal flame with the producing activities once they have been contaminated liquid petroleum fuel. Alright, ingestion. Do not produce induced vomiting except with the directive of the physician. Uncontrolled vomiting may be clothed in liquid petroleum fuel with a gill and lungs. And as a person has ingested liquid petroleum fuel should be taken to the medical facility at once. Be sure to inform the medical administrator of the type and approximate amount of liquid petroleum fuel ingested. 223. Solids. Dust and forms of by additives petroleum fuel products remaining in the volatile liquid have been evaporated. Solid particles and sludge may disperse as sludge dries. Dust can also result in scale, sand, blast, rust, plate particles moved into the tank walls of strainers during cleaning operations. Salt installation environmental office for the proper procedure for the sludge and solid waste cleaning disposal. 22331. Solid containing contact inhalation first aid. Solids will enter the body with the inhalation contaminated dust particles treated. Bodily contact with the dust as you would liquid petroleum fuels and inhalation of the dust with the petroleum fuel vapors. Seek the immediate medical attention. Alright, 2.3, electrical safety. Section provides general information related with electrical safety regarding the maintenance, operation, static electricity, stray electrical currents, hazard location, power generators. These hazards must be considered when handling and dispensing petroleum products. National Fire Protection Association 70 National Electrical Code for particular safeguarding of the person property over the hazard arising with the use of electric. National Fire Protection Association 70E standard electrical safety in workplace. Electrical safety requirements employee workplace are necessary. Particular practical safeguarding employees are pursuant with the gainful employment with the National Fire Protection Association 77 of the record practice for the static electricity for additional guidance over the static electricity hazards. 231 lockout and tag out. An electrical safe working condition that must be established while operating performing the maintenance of the electrical equipment regardless of whether the equipment is energized or de-energized. The National Fire Protection Association 70E include the detailed information safety related work, practice safety related maintenance requirements, installation safety requirements, establishing and following the lockout and tag out with the procedure for the essential for the safe execution maintenance work of the electrical equipment. The specific lockout and tag out procedures can differ with site to site. Must abide with the general principles of the National Fire Protection Association 70 Article 120 Article Section 122. B, in general, all sources of the electrical energy must be controlled as a way to minimize the personal exposure for the electrical hazards. National Fire Protection Association 70E is included with the Appendix G with the simple lockout and tag out procedures which can be used as the basis for establishing specific procedures. R232 static charges. Low conductivity liquid set with jet fuel and gasoline become electrostatically charged by flowing through the petroleum fuel system during the stored in transportation barges, tankers, and rail cars. The other fuel transportation can produce electrical energy causing ignition, fire, explosion with the petroleum vapor air mixture above the liquid petroleum fuel surface. The grounding and bonding components of the petroleum fuel system are important to prevent ignition, fire, and explosion. The petroleum fuel system components must be bound with the grounded to dissipate with the static electrical charges and stray electrical currents that can be discharged from the electrical arc with the bounding across the flanges provided with that are not electrically insulated. UFC 346001 Section 212.3.3 includes information grounding petroleum fuel system equipment in order to prevent accumulation of static electricity. 2321 Personal static prevention requirements. Personal must periodically ground themselves at the pump of the house, the structures, tanks, equipment making firm contact attached with the ground bars approved with the grounding of the points. The personnel must not put on, remove, or garments when conducting petroleum fuel handling operations. Personnel must ground sample the devices with the ground bars, approved grounding points before collecting petroleum fuel samples. 233 electrical currents. Electrical currents originate with the generator transmission systems. Wiring electrical devices more dangerous than static electrical charges because of the continuous electrical arc that is created with the varies with a brief electrical spark created by the static electric discharge. Verify all the electrical work of the petroleum fuel storage of the dispensing store system of the National Fire Protection Association 7501 Class 1 location reduce electrical hazards. 2331 stray currents. stray currents flow for the unintended path of the extraneous current in the earth is source of the stray currents for the include with electrical railways, electrical power system, electrical welders, cathodic protection system, aircraft, aeronautical electrical equipment, malfunction since many fixed petroleum fuel systems in intimate earth contact with the stray currents can take the path of conducting petroleum fuel systems. Stray currents can cause electrical arcs, may ignite the combustible petroleum fuel vapor mixture. Fuel system ground requirements. Ground system we use to dissipate the static electric charges, reduce the stray electrical current hazards of these systems, provide the path of the conduct the stray electrical currents into the without arcing. Alright, B. Tanker car loading and unloading requirements. Railroad spurs. U. For the loading and unloading tanker cars should be insulated with the mainline rails, ensuring isolation stray current that they may flow over the mainline rails. C. Marine terminal requirements. Stray currents for the cathodic protection system of the marine terminal will require with special attention for the system, protect with the piping and steel pilers, caught with the current of the flow of the water, steel hull vessel with the as conductor for these currents with the ship to shore, fuel handling hose of the conductor complete with a low resistance circuit with the vessel with the shore to side piping. Arcs may be occur between the vessel and the hose when the hose is disconnected, brought into the contact with the vessel with the deck with the routing that may be vented when connecting. Or binding cables with the shore side piping the vessel before operations begin, and switch on the shore side wired inline bond cable that must be closed after cable with the connection is made before the petroleum fuel handling hose is taken aboard the vessel. D. Piping requirements. Stay current with the may flow with the petroleum fuel piping the system with electrical resistance load compared with the surrounding earth. Removal of the piping components will interpret the continuity of the petroleum fuel system binding jumper they must be installed with the prior to removal of the piping components that must remain in place until the items are replaced. Installation of the jumper will prevent the arc from when piping components are moved or replaced. Alright, 234, hazard location classification. National Fire Protection Association 70 National Electrical Code defines the hazard location, including areas where the fire with explosion hazard may exist with the flammable gas, vapor, the flammable liquid, produced vapor, the combustible liquid, the producers, the vapor, the combustible, the dust. Hazard location with the classified of three ways: type of class, condition, division, nature, group of the petroleum fuel facility. Class 1, where flammable gas vapors may be present in air sufficient quantities to be the explosive ignitable. Class 1 is divided into two divisions. Class D, Division 1, air is included when the environment has to be expected of the unnormal or operating condition. Division 2s are included with the environment where the hazard is not normally present, with the explosive concentration are present only there at an accident, rupture, or breakage, and unusual faulty operation. National Electric Code further defines the nature of the group of the hazardous substance. Most petroleum fuel facilities fall under Group D: hydrocarbons, fuel solvents, and etc. Personnel must ensure that all electrical components and equipment installed by the operator replaced must be required with the hazard classification intended environment. Refer to UFC 34601, Design Petroleum Fuel Facility for additional hazard location information. 2.4 Petroleum fuel quality. Each type of the grade of the fuel for the lubricant has specifically formulated to provide most satisfactory economic performance possible with a particular engine under the operating condition for which of the designed petroleum fuel lubricant have been contaminated with that have become contaminated, have degraded, and can cause fires, explosion, injuries, loss of life, loss of valuable machinery, equipment. Petroleum fuel products suspected of being contaminated must be reported with the military service the service control point. 2.4.1 Water contamination. Water contamination usually can occur with the transportation store of the petroleum fuel. Water contamination, most common in the form of the contamination, may take one of the following three forms. Free water consists of a relatively large drop of the water which, left undisturbed, will settle with the bottom of the container. Low density petroleum fuel products below viscosity. Free water settlement can be caught quite rapidly with a higher density, more viscosity of the petroleum fuel product settlement will take longer. Some of the petroleum fuels contaminate anti-corrosive cleaning agents, otherwise known as surfactants, which tend to prevent the settlements of free water. Dissolve water in state with the water that is invisible to the petroleum fuel appears to be clear, but a drop of the temperature may be cause the dissolved water to separate with the petroleum fuel. Tiny droplets to remain suspended to give the petroleum fuel a cloudy appearance. Emulsified water. Emulsions of the mechanical dispersion of petroleum fuel with the water having a frothy appearance. Emulsions can be very stable and hard to separate, with the separation may require special mechanical or chemical treatments. 2.4.2 Prevention and removal of the water contamination. A. Operating some tanks of the some drains of the tanks filter separated with other vessel equipment. Check free water on a daily basis when the systems are operated during the petroleum fuel flow for operations. Observe the filter separated with differential pressure gauge. Be sure that the units are functioning properly. Ensure the operator's system maintenance is properly performed. D. Newly received aviation petroleum fuels must be allowed to stand undisturbed with the receiving the tank for the permit settlement with the free water before product is dispensed. Aviation petroleum fuel must be allowed to stand for 1 hour per 1 foot of liquid liquid level raised in the storage tanks up to a maximum stand time of 24 hours in accordance with the undisturbed tank allowed by military service established procedure policy. Ground vehicles, petroleum fuels do not require settlement time before the dispensing. When fabricated above ground, vertical tanks are available everywhere, and for entry they must be inspected with the unintended low spots with the repaired for required, eliminating unintended low spots with good collect free water. Tank roof and seal fittings of all types must be maintained in good weather tight condition. Testing and inspection required with the tank's underground piping must be filed with documented and if unexplained accumulation of water detected underground petroleum fuel tanks. Suspected leaking must be tested using the temperature control hydrostatic sand pipe test. Underground petroleum fuel piping suspected leakage must be installed with the suspected the applicable the underground piping annual tests are described in Appendix G. Petroleum fuel pipeline pressure testing guidelines and criteria. 243 solid matter contamination. Iron, rust, scale, sand, airborne dirt. Examples of solid matter contamination must be prevalent in petroleum fuel. Most prevalent in petroleum fuel, the primary source of the iron, rust, and corrosion pipeline, the storage tank of the other inline steel component, the sand and dirt with a particular shear with an extremely sandy and dusty area that may accumulate around tank gauge hatch of the tank manways, other openings entering the tank with which, when covering any air, are removed. Presence of larger amounts of particular matter in petroleum fuels result with the restricting clogging the filter, separated sitting and plugging of the fuel control components of the nozzles and wearing, scoring, petroleum fuel system components and abrasion, preventing removal of the solid contamination. Brush away with the removal of the accumulated dirt and sand around the fill covers and the manholes over the other covered openings before removing them. When petroleum fuel tanks, piping, and equipment can be opened for the construction repair for the inspection, should be protected against the entry of the dirt and foreign objects. Normally closed tanks openings not required with the opening of ventilation cut off at the most, so must remain closed. Open ends of the piping equipment, such as the pump of the meters, that must be sealed by a temporary closure for which are not required to open the inspection of the repair. Do not operate the petroleum fuel handling equipment unless all filters and strainer screens and nozzle spout caps are been properly installed. Never remove filter, strainer, basket, strainer screens for any purpose other than cleaning of the maintenance. Filter, strainer, basket, strainer screens must always be replaced immediately after cleaning of the maintenance. Observe water with the drain of the filter separator sumps. Report unusual accumulation of foreign matter to the supervisor. The inside new petroleum fuel pipe must be clearly inspected. Loose of the scale of the dirt and rust, dirt debris must be removed with the brush away, swab, plugs, pigs, and before installation. New piping in the pipeline system must be thoroughly flushed for the Unified Facility Guidelines Specs 3308-55 commissioning of a fuel facility system. Temporary strainers installed with a strategic point to remove the trapped matter when they assist with the removal of solids. When changing the grades of the petroleum fuel tank and for the piping or pipeline penetration action for the new grade, with a may loosen the existing scale and rise pipe by prior to changing the petroleum fuel grade. Tank piping and pipeline may need to be thoroughly mechanically cleaned chemically. Even if a good clean job done, loose scale and rust can continue to appear in product or several weeks after starting the new operation. Extra precautions are so as more frequent sampling circulation of petroleum fuel product, temporary use of strainers, frequent cleaning of the strainers, use of cleaning pegs may need to be taken. See Section 2.5 changes in tank product for additional information related to changes in grades of petroleum fuel products and tanks. Ensure replacement parts and equipment such as the hoses, packaging, gaskets, or ring seals, pipe compounds are made with a material compatible with the petroleum fuel type and grade. Do not allow petroleum fuel system to lie unused for long periods of time, and an active system may accumulate water and at low points cause corrosion, biological activity leading to solid contamination. Or your microbiological contamination. Water and petroleum fuels exist with it together. Yeast and fungus of the bacteria may present with the interface of the two fluids. They have the water still interface with the organism and live in the water with the feed with the petroleum fuel. Only a small amount of water, such as the puddle with the tank bottom, is required with the support large colonies of these organisms. Microbiological contamination usually appears as a brown, black, gray, slimy-like deposit here for the inner surface of the fuel tank as a result of the corrosion and fuel system components known as microbial-induced corrosion, clogging of the filters, the erratic operation of petroleum fuel quality indicating system. Microbiological contamination is most severe high-temperature, high-humidity environments and alternative ground vehicle fuel products. Damage with the microbiological induced corrosion called the Hydrogen sulfide produced with the waste of the microorganism as they metabolize petroleum fuel in absence of sufficient oxygen can cause significant damage to the tanks and piping environmental problems in a very short period of time. The presence of microbiological contamination petroleum fuel is a reliable indication of failure of the petroleum fuel filterization equipment with inadequate water stripping petroleum fuel storage tanks as needed with the more frequent cleaning and petroleum fuel storage tanks. 2451, preventing microbiological contamination. Prevent microbiological contamination. Remove the water of the petroleum fuel system by using sumps on the tanks, filter vessels, low point drainage, use the biocide aviation fuels F76 for the prohibited under the current is prohibited under current product specification. Biocides are allowed on case-by-case basis on a rare occasion, require extensive justification proof with the military service control point. Alright, 246, other product contamination. The property is one type of the grade of the petroleum fuel with a greatly changed with the mixing with another grade of the type of the petroleum fuel. Some causes cross contamination between petroleum fuel with the leakage bulkheads between tanks, leave the valve manifolds, separating product system, use the multi-product pipelines delivery and proper petroleum fuel grade and proper cleaning of the tank compartment pipeline prior changing petroleum fuel product service. Jelly and apple jelly is contaminated with the petroleum fuel system, specifically with the filterization equipment. The result of the media mitigation. Apple jelly is occurrence with free water particles of the petroleum fuel react with small quantities of super absorbent polymers that pass and mitigate with the petroleum fuel as well as the water absorption media filters or monitors. The mixture creates aggressive solvent that, when mixed with the particular particles and debris, creates a jelly-like substance. Fuel system ice inhibitor, diethyl monomethyl ether has been shown to increase the rate of the media mitigation. As a result, water absorption media filters monitors are no longer used in systems that handle petroleum fuel containing FS2. R2461, prevention of other petroleum fuel contamination, clear identification of petroleum fuel system equipment, product, and grade. Essential operational safety, product quality protection system must be clear of identified in accordance with Section 27. To be sure the system flow diagrams are available, all operators use arrows to indicate direction of petroleum fuel flow within pipes, include the petroleum fuel product labeling, petroleum fuel tanks, piping, and loading and offloading points. Do not begin petroleum fuel transfer operations until markings are all needed with the petroleum fuel equipment that has been checked and found to be grade. Ensure the value of the value manifolds are positively shut off and locked out between the petroleum fuel products. Don't solely be dependent on a single valve with a separate petroleum fuel products as they may leak. Install a spectacle blind with a blind flange, double lock and bleed valve with the manifolds where the petroleum fuel product is to be separated. Be sure to newly arrived petroleum fuel products were not contaminated during shipping to take a sample of the military for the specific quality control directives. Military Standard 3004. If possible, do not ship to use the petroleum fuel product unless the test result with the confirm accepted. E. Use separate pipelines equivalent in each of the petroleum fuel product usually unless designed to the multiple product line. It required an alternative capability with the contingency pipeline should never be used more than one type of petroleum fuel. With the common pipe systems must never be used for incompatible petroleum fuel products. Alright, 247, the special consideration biodiesel blend B20. Biodiesel blend B20 is 20 plus or minus 1 volume percent of the biodiesel contamination form of the ASTM 6751 standard specific to the biodiesel fuel stock B100 middle distillated fuels 80 volume percent petroleum diesel conforming to the ASTM D975 standard specification diesel fuel oils. Biofuel diesel is compromised by monoalkyl esters, long chain fatty acids derived with the vegetable oils, animal fats. Biodiesel is meant to be used. Standard diesel engines should not be confused with the vegetable waste oils used to fuel converted diesel engines. A B20 product must be pre-blended prior to the delivery. It is not acceptable attempting the blending of the government tank during the delivery. The Department of Defense, a component of the federal agency, must consider the not ordered on B20 when the projected consumption product storage duration exceeds 30 months during extended unresolved product stability concerns. B20 may be stored with the tanks and handled with equipment used with the diesel service. Nevertheless, the Defense Energy Support Points must comply with the standard military service specific procedure with the directives regarding the tank cleaning prior to converting the existing storage tanks from the diesel B20 service. A generally higher cloud point through standard diesel with the occasional effect for the B20 cold flow. Property of the Department of Defense of the federal agency customers should order more frequent, smaller B20 quantities to achieve the advantage for the seasonal diesel cloud point adjustments, minimize the potential vehicle and equipment to cold weather operation problems. F. The DoD only uses B20 diesel, biodiesel, and non-tactical equipment. Alright, special consideration fuel ethanol blend E85. Fuel ethanol blend E85 is 75 to 85 volume percent with the fuel ethanol blend to 25 to 15 volume percent hydrocarbon fuel, usually unleaded gasoline. ASTM 5798 standard specification fuel ethanol for automotive spark ignition engines govern E85 procurement of the fuel ethanol intended for the ground vehicles with spark ignition engines. Or the Department of Defense component of the federal agency must ensure the material capability storage tank of the dispersing equipment for the converting facility with the E85 serve the special requirements of the described in the Department of Energy handbook. Storing in a dispersing E85 pre-1992 fiberglass tanks may not be suitable to convert to E85 service. Through vapor pressure classes of fuel ethanol and with ethanol content with a varying from 75 to 80%, different seasonal conditions, geographical, regional, serve to ensure the proper vehicle operation throughout the year in all locations. High ethanol E85 content may reduce lubricating properties as well, but they increase the water tolerance, increase the temperature, and increase water content can reduce the hydrocarbon fuel solubility in fuel ethanol. Monitor keep water content in a minimum due water miscibility fuel alcohol to minimize performance degradation. Ethanol must be compatible with aluminum, and aluminum products must be removed with the gasoline dispensing system that will be also dispensed in the E85. According with Environmental Protection Agency regulations, all commercial grades of the gasoline contain certain additive detergents, corrosion inhibitors, and first and blend of the E85. Any additive was found previously. Gasoline is known as the E85, although the reduced levels of adding detergent to hydro component with the ethanol 85 is necessary. It is not necessary to add the detergent based on alcohol portion of the product or use of additives. The ethanol 85 may result in the poor vehicle operation. Alright, 2.5 changes in tank product chain. Changes in the petroleum fuel product tank in the piping system must be conducted in accordance with the more stringent military service quality control directive with the military standard 3004, quality assurance surveillance of the fuel, lubricating, and related products. 2.6 environmental protection. The Department of Defense is actively committed with the protecting quality of the environment, preventing the control of the pollution resulting from the use of the Operation Petroleum Fuel facilities. The Department of Defense is required to comply with environmental laws and regulations. Individuals who violate the environmental regulations may be subject to serious civil and criminal penalties, including fuel and jail terms, significant fines and jail terms for some significant precautions used listed in the UFC 3460, such as petroleum fuel storage, loading, offloading, secondary containment systems are used to prevent discharge of petroleum fuel products to sanitary storm sewer, some groundwater systems, local stream waterways. 261 spill planning. Facilities containing handling petroleum fuels products design construction in accordance with manner should be prevented. The spilling of the spill occur with the facility should prevent the spill with the leaving the property with entering the waterway, groundwater table, the insulation spill prevention control countermeasures plan oversee with the spill response documentation required overseas environmental baseline guidelines document environmental final governing standards applicable. Refer to UFC 346001 design petroleum fuel facility include reference to the spill prevention control countermeasure requirements. Personnel should be familiar with the spill prevention control counter requirements specific to the petroleum fuel facility where they are performing inspection maintenance. While performing maintenance activities with the petroleum fuel release with the drip of the pan with a suitable maintenance of the utility contained petroleum fuel may be released from the system. Spill pads must also be readily available. The blinding of the drip of the drip pan petroleum fuel system grounding rod will reduce the risk of static electrical discharge. Bonding points drip pans should be provided when they are not where they are put in regular use. Alright, 2611 reference UFC 346003 specific control and countermeasure plans. Spills, plans, response plan, operation plans, other plans required to the law should not include UFC 34603. The title to complete instruction. Only specific items from the document should be included when required. 262 contamination. Secondary contamination provided with the petroleum fuel system components are required by UFC 34601. These systems may include the other berms and contamination, paving, spill kits, or liners. 263 contamination drain valves. Contaminating an area must drain with the frequently required to maintain them in a clean, dry, and accessible state. The debris caught in the drain inlet grate must be removed after each drain. Complete contaminated drain valves must be maintained. Outlined in Section 66 valves. Coordinated containment or drain valve draining with operational personnel. All right, 264 waste disposal. To ensure waste is disposed properly, check whether adequate waste disposal containers are available. The disposal procedure, the identified coordinated waste disposal procedure, installation environmental office coordinator must include strict adherence to the more stringent host nation, federal, state, and local hazard waste regulations, including permitting. 27. The signage marking. Signage markings requiring periodic inspection markings to ensure important information is easily accessible. 261. Inspection, maintenance, signage, and markings. Checking permanent signs and markings adequacy, readability, repair, replace deteriorated, illegible signs and marking frequency weekly. Inspect location, Department of Transportation, regulated underground petroleum fuels pipelines. Ensure that the marks within accordance with the 49 Code Federal Regulation 195-410 frequently monthly. Check with the petroleum fuel pipelines, tank valves, pumps, meters, and other equipment each marked in accordance with the UFC 346001, Section 218, marking and missing insufficient repair marking in accordance with the UFC 346001, frequency monthly. Ensure petroleum fuel storage and emergency fuel shut-off push buttons are properly identified at each of the locations. Ensure the signage is properly secured with the lettering and eligible at 25 feet away from not faded frequently monthly. Alright, if the verify and moving temporary signs is maintained with a good condition, serve the anticipated word, for example, the danger, closed traffic, keep flames away, men working, no smoking, dangers, no open flames, ignition sources beyond this point, and biological signage where appropriate frequency annually. 2.8. Fire protection. So the simultaneous condition necessary to create the petroleum fuel fire. The petroleum fuel product must be in form of vapor, petroleum fuel vapor, or mixtures must be present in correct proportions. Support the combustion explosion with a combustible mixture of the petroleum fuel vapor. Air must be raised. Ignition temperature subject to the source of ignition. Absence of any one of the conditions prevent occurrence of the fire. Is not practical to eliminate with a completely controlled petroleum fuel vapor. Air portion of petroleum fuel is handled. Dispense temperature cannot be controlled to the point petroleum fuel vapors are not permissible. Therefore, elimination source ignition is primarily controllable factor for the prevention of petroleum fuel fires. The National Fire Protection Association 10 standard for the portable fire extinguisher details the number and type of the portable fire extinguishers that should be located around the petroleum fuel areas and storage locations. 281. Petroleum fuel vapor source of fires explosion. Petroleum fuel vapors escaping the atmosphere quickly diluted within the flammable explosive limit. If ignited, will cause fire eventually with the petroleum fuel vapor concentration in the tank of the vessel is diluted, creating an explosive hazard within the tank. Petroleum fuel vapors are heavier than air, can travel long distance before they dissipate into the atmosphere. Any source of ignition may ignite the petroleum fuel vapors, causing the fire explosion. 282. Solid source of fire explosion. Sludge and other petroleum fuel saturated material with the sediment, hollow roof with the support with the sidewall scale with the foam pan land, seals, oil soaked wooden structures emanate with the petroleum vapors if it can accumulate the flammable exposure limit. 283. Ignition source of fire explosion. Primary course of source ignition, poor maintenance to the effective electrical equipment, negligence, relaxed disciplinary action, violation, safety regulations, static or stray electrical currents. 283. 1. Maintenance tools. Non-sparking tools provide with protection against the fire's explosion, petroleum fuel products, environment. The non-sparking tools should be for the operation of the maintenance work highly volatile petroleum fuel flashpoint of 100 degrees of Fahrenheit, unless the environment is certified with vapor-free common non-sparking tool materials are brass, bronze, copper, nickel alloy, copper, beryllium, aluminum, copper, aluminum alloy. These non-spark tools are kept free, clean of ferrous and other contamination of the spark properties. Electrical tools must have 3-wire cord with the ground plugged into the ground receptacle, double insulated, or be powered by a long voltage insulation transformer. Electrical tools must be protected by a ground fault circuit, interpreter, any arrested grounding conductor program. Electrical power tools, battery corded or corded electrical extension must be intrinsically safe under writer's laboratory. Listed intended hazard location. Refer to the OSHA booklet 3080 hand and power tools based on Title 29 CFR Part 1910 Subpart P. Military Service Specific Directive of Additional Safety Guidance required appropriate tools to work and perform. Alright, 2A32 power generators. Diesel, gasoline engine power generators, other internal combustion power tools, internal combustion engine driven pumps must be either in a closed proximity petroleum fuel system equipped with a spark arrestor. If the equipment must be located with the operation of the petroleum fuel tank, contaminating areas upwind of the petroleum fuel tank at least 50 feet from the nearest petroleum fuel tank manhole vent. 2833 Smoke clearance. No smoking signs must be placed conspicuous around the petroleum fuel system. Smoking must only be permitted with the designated smoke areas outside of the petroleum fuel vapor clearance. 284 Fire explosion preventive maintenance. Provide with the proper ventilation pump hose, pipe pits, and other enclosed spaces where the petroleum vapors may accumulate. Take precaution to prevent leakage and spillage of petroleum fuel products. When spillage is expected and from petroleum fuel pipes, hoses, connection, open to equipment to ventilate the area, eliminate source of ignition, direct the expected spillage to improve the container drip pan is applicable. The binding of the drip pan with the petroleum fuel system or grounding will reduce the risk of the static electrical discharge. Binding points of the drip pan should be provided where they are put into regular use. It is a small amount of petroleum fuel spills onto the ground. The asphalt concrete covered it with a dry absorbent. Remove the absorbent once the petroleum fuel has been absorbed. When major operations are possible with a sizable petroleum fuel spill, for the call of the fire department authorities for the possible standby. Be familiar with local petroleum fuel spill contingencies of the proper contamination of the information of the local fire department. Do not start or run a vehicle in an area where the petroleum fuel has been spilled until flammable combustible liquid is removed and areas freed of the petroleum vapors unless the vehicle is required to clean up the spill. Do not weld, cut, rivet the mechanical or hot work on out-of-service petroleum fuel storage tank pipe. The equipment if it has contained flammable combustion sub. The equipment if it has been properly ventilated, certified vapor-free, and limited class hot work can be performed safety out of service on in-service equipment if the approved plan. Always obtain hot work permit before hot work is conducted with the petroleum fuel system. I only allow personnel with the requirements of Unified Facility Guidelines Spec 3352900020 welding petroleum oil lubricant surface piping to conduct welding on the petroleum fuel tanks of the vessel containing flammable combustible liquid petroleum fuel vapors. Drain, purge, ventilation, petroleum fuel tanks or other equipment brought with the back to the maintenance of the repair to keep the outside of the building well away open flames and other sources of ignition. Do not allow open flames class 1 hazard areas established in the National Fire Protection Association. 70 National Electric Code. Artificial light and power tools must meet the requirements of Section 2A31 and maintenance tools. M. Immediately dispose of petroleum fuel soaked rags, waste placed for them in approved closed non-combustible containers. Refer to Section 264 Waste Disposal. Procedures. 2.9 Emergency Action Plans. Agencies that operate with a maintenance petroleum fuel infrastructure must be knowledgeable of their applicable emergency action plan, include measure to address the variety of the emergency response, including, but not limited to, natural disasters, threat, condition, environmental protection. 210 Site Maintenance Program. Facility maintainers, base civil engineers, Department of Public Work contractors, operators have primary responsibility maintaining and repairing petroleum fuel and structure fuel, petroleum fuel lubricating receipts, issue storage systems under stewardship. The Department of Defense petroleum fuel sites may have one or more facility managers depending on the type of the mission. Facility owner and other contractor relations. Military service can be delegated maintenance tasks between the operator and maintenance system mainly different. Section 122 Maintenance tasks. More information. Delegation maintenance task. Agent responsible infrastructure maintenance must be developed in site maintenance program as that include A list of detailed petroleum fuel equipment requiring maintenance. B the coordinated requirements point of contact with the agents that meet, support, provide input, maintenance, and cathodic protection, electrical, environmental, fire department, and plumbing and safety. C documentation, record retention procedures. D details of maintaining infrastructure as built information. E details of developing, submitting project of maintaining, repairing, or upgrading existing infrastructure. Details coordinated agency requirements of the new infrastructure. F quality assurance requirements of the contractors working petroleum fuel instruction. 210.1 Maintaining petroleum fuel infrastructure. Petroleum fuel facility maintainers should utilize the requiring maintenance system tracks, inspection schedule, unscheduled maintenance actions, equipment and serviceability. Petroleum fuel facility maintainers operate must coordinate requirements, schedule maintenance action, minimize mission impact. Alright, 210.2 Documentation record retention. Petroleum fuel system documentation record retention must include the maintenance record sufficient detail identified by each for the real property equipment with the current maintenance status, and the records must be maintained with the installation should be recommended. Each installation must develop and they have the site-specific manuals such for the operation, maintenance, support, information, operation, maintenance, environmental safety plan. These manuals must include the manufacturer, operation, maintenance, and the information-specific equipment components installed with the installation, specific operation, maintenance, support, information, operation, maintenance, environmental safety plan manuals must be used in conjunction with the inspection maintenance criteria UFC 34603, unless otherwise specified. The military for the specific contract requiring the maintenance agencies retain petroleum fuel infrastructure record retaining inspection API standard 57 0 inspection repairing alteration re-rating the interim service piping system API 653 tank inspection repair or alteration reconstruction. Copies of these records must be used in installation of official record retention. Environmental regulation, typically retention records of the minimum 3 to 5 years. In some cases, environmental regulations require record retention, but the line of the system records must be maintained a minimum of 3 years until less. More military, civil, federal, state, host, national, local requirements apply. For agencies that have responsible maintenance of the Department of Transportation regulated petroleum fuel pipelines, additional inspection repair information required must comply with the Title 49 CFR 195, 310, 405, 404, 507, and 589. For agencies responsible for the maintenance underground storage tank with the inspection record keeping, and must comply with the Title 40 CFR 280, 34. For agencies responsible for maintenance hose pipelines near and over the navigational waters, inspection repair recording keeping, complying with the Title 33 CFR 154, 740. Alright, 210. 3. As built as information. Available as built for information, petroleum fuel system must preserve the protect for this built for information with update protecting project of the chain with the configuration system execute with the petroleum fuel facility accurate with the process fuel flow diagram each for the petroleum fuel system and the amount of the documentation must be maintained. Copies of the built information must be maintained. Installation petroleum fuel facility operation building permanent installation files as built with the information of the regulated pipelines must comply with Title 49 195 404 210 operating and maintenance support information. Each installation must contain with the current library access to the manufacturer operation maintenance manual of all the equipment and this associated petroleum fuel infrastructure under the installation responsibility. Operation maintenance information required with the Department of Transportation regulated pipelines must comply with the Title 49 CFR 195 transportation hazardous liquid by pipeline subpart F. Operation maintenance section 402. Operation maintenance information required with the facility conducting petroleum fuel transfer from the marine vessel to comply with the Title 33 Part 154 facilities transferring oil or hazardous material in bulk section 300 to 325. 210.5 safety reports. All petroleum fuel facilities must file with the military for the contract requirements requiring reporting safety risk and assessment of insurance structure facilities required regulated with the having additional reporting requirements that are governed by the Title 49 195 transportation hazardous liquid by pipeline subpart B annual accident safety related coordination reporting of the facility operating of the maintainers must copy the DLA or Engine G military service command with notifying the pipeline hazard material safety administration regulated pipeline incident. Alright, Chapter 3, Bulk Transfer Facilities.